I'm a modern-day Oracle of Delphi, in that I tweak out in public spaces and shout uncomfortable truths at people. I've been banned from 3 Westfield malls because we have no freedom in this sugar caliphate of a country. This video is gonna be more of a rant, okay? I ain't got no thesis. I'm just gonna be yapping at you aggressively, okay, like an old woman on the bus. I would have been a phenomenal propagandist if I was 15% less ethical and 10% more attractive. But at least I have my drip on lock, which is why I would like to thank Quince for sponsoring this video. Quince is an online retailer that offers quality clothes, accessories, and home goods. And when I say quality, baby, I mean quality. This cotton tencel jersey mini wrap dress is one of the smoothest fabrics I have ever felt. I just want to sway in this. Got me feeling like a tipsy aunt at a wedding. As someone who has bought clothes made out of terrible material in the past that practically disintegrated off of my body as I wore them, it's nice to have pieces made from actual quality fabric and not paper mache. Quince uses durable material like Mongolian, cashmere, silk, and cotton, which goes a long way when you're trying to add comfortable staple pieces to your closet, like these ultra stretch Ponte super wide ankle pants. I love me a bell bottom and showing off my little chicken ankles. I'm gonna be clobbering down the streets in these. These trousers can be mixed and matched with so many other pieces dressed up or dressed down. Same with these slingback flats and this Mongolian cashmere beret. A neutral colored shoe or accessory goes with everything. As you can see, I've been breaking these bad boys in. I love a little heel. Look at her, so sophisticated. Elegant, and it goes with everything, plus you can actually walk around in them. This beret is so comfy. I feel like a little bougie baby wearing this. Plus I got this cute, airy, linen, sleeveless swing dress for a lovely member of my family who shall remain unnamed. And this individual does not let anything but the finest fabric touch her skin. And she was buying pieces from Quince even before this collaboration. So these clothes are granola mom approved, okay? I know she's watching this. Hello. So upgrade your wardrobe, home, and more with high-end essentials from Quince. Go to the link in my description, or you can scan my QR code and get free shipping and 365-day returns. Back to the video. Taylor Swift has officially completed her corporate merger with football man Travis Kelce. She has extracted the last bit of wigadom from him, and it seems injected it directly into Timothée Chalamet. As one man's caucasity goes up, the other's goes down. It's necessary to keep the balance, especially now that Chet Hanks is no longer with us. He didn't pass away, he's just like MIA. Probably in Jamaica, wreaking havoc on an Airbnb. I kinda miss you, Chet. Unblock me. The wedding, fittingly enough, was in a performance venue, Madison Square Garden, which in 50 years' time, when the already gossamer, thin social fabric that holds our society together ceases to exist, will be the location of a new Thunderdome, where we will bring back gladiator matches. I'm talking a real gladiator match, alright? Somebody's gonna be losing a family member that day, not MMA, where it's basically just like an Armenian and an Irish dude aggressively hugging each other. Sponsored, of course, by Bang Energy and Eli Lilly. Oh, sorry, they go by Lilly now. They're a member of the Sweet Valley High, apparently. All of it live streamed on Kick. You will be able to live bet, of course. I think actually in 50 years' time, I think sports gambling will be mandatory. There will be dancers/prisoners as a halftime show entertainment, pop locking and dropping, dripped out in Shein merch, paying off their Klarna debt. It will be an equal split of male and female dancers, because who said the future isn't going to be progressive? The gladiator match winner gets their monthly supply of, I don't know, insulin and flavored vapes. The TNT merger was an oddly publicized wedding. I had a fairly cursory knowledge of Miss Swift's love life. The only one I really distinctly remember, alright, was back in the Tumblr days. Okay, this is pre-Harambe. She snagged the curly-haired wonder, Harry Styles, from the British siren soft power group, One Direction. I didn't think much of it. If anything, I saw a lot of the people sipping haterade and thought, y'all sound jealous, because the boy you want, Taylor got. What I do remember is that one of my closest friends, God love her, still a best friend to this day, she was a big Swiftie, but she was an even bigger Directioner. News broke that the two were an item. The next day, her Taylor Swift poster was gone. I didn't even have to ask. I knew why. I mean, I personally would have gone for Zayn myself, at least just looks-wise. I'd have added volume to his quiff every day. I have a theory that that little hair tendril controlled him. Actually, you know what? No. My man can't be prettier than me. Even just thinking about it pisses me off. Stop fluttering your eyelashes. You're creating a draft in the living room. Why don't you go fix a car or something? As you can imagine, the Swifties, who have developed a deep parasocial relationship with this woman, which is a thing that she has routinely encouraged and fostered her entire career, tending to it like a plant. And they stayed parked out that venue. And there was one clip in particular that was so dystopian, and it was what inspired me to yap about this topic to begin with.
How was it? Good?
What kind of cake?
Can you give us a thumbs up if it was chocolate? Chocolate cake? Thumbs down for vanilla. Oh! Throw it! I'll catch it! I'll catch it!
Oh my God!
I got this! I don't care! It's Taylor Swift food! Ah, police! Officer, I deserve it, please.
Oh my God!
May I please have it, officer? Please. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God, guys! We're having Taylor Swift dessert! Oh my God! We're so excited! Oh my God! It's so good! I wish you guys could taste it! Guys, so much has happened in the last 10 minutes. Everyone has been coming out. We've been asking so many questions and they're not answering anything, but we're tricking them into answering questions. So things we found out are, they had chicken, the cake was chocolate, and we had Taylor Swift dessert. It was confirmed. I have video of multiple people confirmed. And then we got Taylor Swift dessert, yes. We got dessert from them too. So we got dessert from the wedding.
Now, I am aware that most Swifties would not act in this manner, or at least many of them would not act in this manner, okay? I'm not trying to say this is what the average Taylor Swift fan is like. It's so exhausting that in any discussion of fandoms, you have to put 10,000 disclaimers. I'm aware. According to the person who was recording this video, he was waiting outside that venue for like 20 hours, right? So they were camped. Okay, at least that's what he told CNN. And I could not get confirmation from the actual catering company that these were leftovers, or at least pastries that were served at the actual wedding, which is what these individuals clearly seem to think is the case. I mean, they say as much. If anything, that's where the excitement comes from. They were in proximity to Miss Tay-Tay herself. Peasants didn't even act like this. I mean, this is the way that people would interact with who they thought was like a god queen. You just want to shake these people. Wake up, it's not too late. And this just got me thinking about all the footage of people at concerts. I mean, not just Taylor Swift's, where people are crying. I mean, like weeping hysterically, fainting, convulsing, astral projecting, acting like this is the second coming of Christ. And most of the genuinely concerning behavior tends to happen when these individuals are not even really directly interacting with a celebrity. It's not within like the context of a performance. I understand being kind of taken aback if you were to see a major celebrity just sort of out and about, because it is a bit jarring. It's like seeing a lemur in the street, because you're thinking, who let you out of your cage? Where are your handlers? I've only had a handful of celeb run-ins when I was living in the big city. That's right, Cleveland, Ohio. It was New York, of course, which is an actual city, populated by rats that have evolved to smoke cigarettes and graffiti slurs. One of the memorable encounters involved seeing who I am 85% sure is disgraced politician and predator Anthony Weiner, aka Carlos Danger. It was in 2017, right before he went to prison for sending inappropriate messages to a minor. A classic. I saw the kosher cutie on 5th Avenue with his son. His offspring was scrolling aggressively on his dad's phone. Baby boy. There's a lot of evidence in there that you do not need to see. I, of course, screamed, "Hey, Tony, add me on Snapchat." I promise I won't take screenshots. But at that point, I was over 18, so I clearly wasn't his type. The other memorable encounter was when I met Michael B. Jordan via an acquaintance. I shook his hand and told him that he had a weak grip, and he chuckled. My brand of feminism involves negging attractive men. That's it, nothing else. I'm not actually gonna be helping women. Don't ask me to. Every actor, by the way, I'm letting you in on a little industry secret, is 5'7". And Hollywood doesn't want you to know this. Tom Cruise only looks semi-tall in movies because of Scientology voodoo. The only person I might actually be genuinely starstruck by is Connecticut cryptid Ina Garten. If I saw her out and about, strolling, and comfortable, get stylish shoes, I'd probably tackle her. I don't know, I would want her to remember me in some capacity. And she seems like she doesn't have any security. However, I do feel like, she keep that thing on her. And I ain't talking about an organic turnip. I have a feeling that Miss Garten stays strapped. And that Glock ain't 3D printed like mine is. So I'd probably get shot and bleed out in front of the Whole Foods where she was shopping. They'd scrape me off the pavement and use my meat for their chili. In a way, I feel like I'd be giving back to my community. I am all for appreciating artistry. At a live show, you are at least directly engaging with a person's art. So it does make sense that people get a bit more emotional or act, a tad bit extra. If you're watching, James Brown off that pure snow, dropping into the splits, and that church lady perm wiglet ain't moving. Matter of fact, it stays in place mid-air as he drops down. And when he pops back up, it locks right back in, like a Lego hair unit. Or maybe it's a different vibe. Maybe it's like a Joni Mitchell show. You know, people are swaying back and forth like coral. Everybody's menstrual cycles are syncing up. Like, I'm not expecting people to stand like mannequins and have no reaction during an engaging show. Music, more than any other art form, tends to like reach inside of people and trigger certain emotions that they've been repressing. Like, they hear the first few chords of Cat's Cradle and begin choking up because it triggers memories of their dead daddy. There are at least a dozen divorced fathers drunk crying to that song at any given moment. But there is a point, however, where it tends to get a bit much. Like, why are you hyperventilating? And it's not because they're like legitimately having a panic attack or they can't breathe or they don't have access to their inhaler. It's just pure like overbearing excitement. Some of these crowds, depending on how centrally charged the shows are, they're basically in full heat, like baboons in estrus. Calm yourselves, people. You're not 13. You're tweaking out over this fast-footed Filipino. I kind of want to put him in my pocket, you know what I mean? He'd probably bite me. He'd like drop down to the floor and start running. Now I'm imagining a 1-foot-tall Bruno Mars running across a hardwood floor. Joke's on you, mijo. I locked the door. You know he's not Blasian? Like, I don't think he's part black at all. He's like Filipino, Puerto Rican. So maybe there is a little bit of black in there. Negro, as they say in his people's native tongue. And then he's like Ashkenazi Jewish. That is an interesting genetic soup. You know what? He's spiritually black. Welcome to the tribe, Mr. Mars. Here is your complimentary tub of blue magic and a playbill for a raisin in the sun. Because there are people who will be fainting at these concerts. Not necessarily for Bruno Mars, but you know who got a lot of fainters? Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, as a performer, as an artist, legend, a goat. We all know this. However, I'm gonna say it, there's not a single celebrity that is worth fainting over. Not a single one. And it's easy for people to side-eye Swifties or other, like, way more contentious fan bases, like the Barbs. A modern day Nicki Minaj hardcore fan. A foot soldier in the Stan Wars. I don't even think she has any at this point. But I mean, there still were some during her beef with Megan Thee Stallion. That is a contingent of society. More terrifying than people building pipe bombs. At least the latter category got basic skills. They can work their way up into middle management. So when you go after those fan bases, people really don't care. But you dare go after the fan base of a goat. Somebody beloved, revered. A Michael Jackson, a Beyonce, a Big Time Rush. That's when people start to go, no, that's different. It makes sense to tweak out over them, except it ain't. I mean, I'm not like saying these artists are interchangeable. Even saying in terms of their talent or, you know, their collective works is like, they're not really comparable artists to begin with. I'm just saying that ain't no stranger, regardless of how talented they might be, worth boo-hoo crying over. I can at least sympathize with people who are not in a good place mentally. Like maybe you're listening to a song being performed and it triggers a really painful memory of, you know, someone's death or of fat camp. Or maybe this artist's work helped you through a rough time. And one can't really divorce said feelings from, you know, the person who created that media. I can understand that. So I would still argue that having that level of intense emotional attachment to who is at the end of the day a stranger, it's not just odd, it is actually unhealthy because that person can never actually give you any proper emotional support. All their art can really give is, in reality, a faint whisper of what one's soul truly craves. And what's devastating is that for a lot of people, the reason that they have that sort of deep parasocial bond with these artists is because they don't have anyone to confide in, right? All they had was My Chemical Romance, so they'll gladly take that sliver. You know what is a scam? Meet and greets. People who don't even have WAP like that are dropping $200, sometimes even more, dollars. Twin Benjamins, triplets, quadruplets at times. I know a car payment is not getting made that month. For one awkward minute and a sweaty side hug from a celebrity who has been painfully holding in a fart for 3 hours. Maybe if you're lucky and it's a meet and greet with like Rihanna or something, she'll let you like, you know, jump on her back and get like a quick photo where you're riding her like a donkey. That's best case scenario. At least, you know, paying a large amount of money to see them perform, as absurd as these ticket prices have gotten at this point, at least in that case you're getting a show. You're making them work for that money. Shimmying, playing a fiddle. If they're Benson Boone or Pink, doing a whole Cirque du Soleil act. I don't think I pronounced that correctly, but I don't know if I have enough respect for the French to correct myself. A meet and greet isn't even a proper hangout. You're not bonding. You're not doing anything that they love, like cheating on their partner, gambling, crocheting. Like I said before, the real concerning behavior usually occurs when these stans aren't even directly interacting with the celebs. Like the obsessive behavior isn't even surrounding the art that this person is creating. It's like, you know, the camping outside of the person's home, getting up super early and patiently waiting outside of their townhouse just to get a glimpse of this person walking out their door and being escorted into a black SUV. It's crowding underneath their hotel balcony. That's how you get the classic MJ baby dangle moment. And the OG stans managed to find these people before social media. I mean, now with the resources that these people have and the chronically sort of unemployed spirit that many of them possess, even if they have jobs, stans have always rivaled investigative journalists. Stan Twitter would have been able to solve the mystery of JonBenet Ramsey's murder in under 48 hours. Back in the day, and I mean also now, I would hear like religious individuals talking about this sort of level of celebrity worship as idolatrous. And even back before I started going back to church, I could understand what they meant, even though at the time I wasn't really viewing it through a spiritual or metaphysical lens. But now, watching people gleefully recording themselves eating the scraps of someone's wedding dessert, yeah, there is something actually sinister about this. It's cultish, that's for sure. Infamous girl dad Kim Jong-un ain't even getting this level of devotion. And at least the people crying in the streets for him are basically forced to do so at gunpoint. I mean, this level of obsession is voluntary. There's no threat of a labor camp. Now, the insert thing is your god brand of cultural analysis can end up being a bit too reductive for my liking. See, like, consumerism is your god, sheeple. Okay, Banksy, we get it. It's a little too overly simplistic. From a spiritual and even just philosophical standpoint, your god is whatever you value most. And it's usually something abstract, you know, like power, validation, Robux. It's not something you're literally worshipping as much as it is what guides your life and your decisions and your values. Having these things can technically lead to success, whatever that looks like for you, but it ends up leaving one spiritually hollow. When it comes to most examples of like celebrity obsession or hyperfixation, I wouldn't go as far as to say that, you know, this public figure is the sun around which this fan's life orbits. With some exceptions, I guess, like what Miss Briggs from iCarly had with Randy Jackson. I keep my cultural references sophisticated. So what these fans are doing isn't placing their, you know, their fave as their god in that sense, but they are propping them up in the sense that they're placing them, you know, on an unhealthy pedestal and bestowing upon them like a reverence that, again, I can't just get over the fact that like it's just a person. It's just a broad from Pennsylvania. K-pop idols are actually a perfect example of this. They're not just called idols because they are meant to be idealized role models with like perfect porcelain skin, looking like a bowl of milk, that are groomed to be mini industries in and of themselves. It is also a Freudian slip because from a marketing standpoint, the whole business model of any sort of teen idol requires the fans to have an obsessive reverence and attachment to these people. These labels don't want casual fans who can only sing the random English lyrics that are sort of sprinkled out throughout the songs.
Just close your lips, shut your tongue.
No, they want devotees that know exactly how many birthmarks Jimin has. That's how you make moolah, baby. I'll talk a bit more about K-pop later, because I have a bit more to say. What makes it worse is that a lot of these contemporary idols, they're not even iconic. There are people who've waited in line for several hours to meet Kylie Jenner. At least Michael Jackson can moonwalk. Kylie can't hee-hee. About like 2 years ago, I made a video on a MagCon. Do you remember these boys? Some of you might be getting PTSD flashbacks. And Cameron Dallas, who was one of the Vine boys and basically was like the frontman for the group. Some of you might remember him from this memed photo. I just want to like wet my finger and just give that hair strand a proper Superman swirl. Make it a little Gentile tendril. That's what I call my curls. And in one of the documentaries about them, right, he was visiting Milan and so many fans showed up outside of his hotel room, like kind of underneath his balcony, that they had to shut the street down. Listen, I don't hate Miss Jenner or Mr. Dallas. I sound like an attorney, but I don't have any animosity towards these people. I'm just saying, this isn't even like a hot take. What is worth tweaking out over regarding these two? And you know what, on some level, I think they were probably confused by it. Was Kylie swabbing like lip shades on a disembodied brown hand on her Snapchat story that transfixing? The worst part of this celeb obsession is the way that the fans' devotion gets turned into a commodity, which is why this level of standum gets encouraged. Like, usually it's not even necessarily the figure themselves, but the machine behind them knows that they can shill out pretty much anything, and they know that the stans will gobble it up. And when it comes to anyone whose main demo that they're trying to appeal to is teen girls, the way that the machine behind them goes, oh, okay, it's time to crank up the emotional manipulation. You know, teen girls, and I mean young women generally, will get clowned for liking anything. Like teen girls couldn't even like Uggs without getting dragged. I mean, the shoes are hideous, yes, but they are warm. And then you'd have some people that had the nerve to sit there and be like, actually, this is a criticism of mass consumption. I feel like that deliberately obtuse response just comes with an H&M scarf and an ironic American Apparel fedora. And you have grown individuals that are hardcore fans of sports in particular, especially football. Stans, if you will. They check off all the boxes. They are deeply, aggressively, emotionally involved with these teams. Both of y'all are propping up multimillionaires that do not know that you exist. There are sports fans who would absorb themselves into Cristiano Ronaldo if they could, in a non-sensual sort of way. They would pay to wipe the sweat off his Iberian brow. And these same people would look down on tweens, who were tweaking out to Justin Bieber back in the day.
Love Justin Bieber.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones. Justin Bieber. At least, those fans were middle schoolers going through puberty, right? Let's be real. You're a grown adult. Whose emotional erraticism is more concerning here? You cried when your country didn't make it to the World Cup semifinals. You tried to hide it from your family, but they saw. When it comes to, the girl groups, the marketing is very girl power. It's bubblegum pink feminism. Yes, girl boss. We can vote now. Hillary 2016. Hashtag me too. Hashtag free Britney. Hashtag free Bobby Shmurda. It's all of that in a Tumblr glitter crown. When it comes to the way they market the boy bands, I'm not even kidding. It's like these executives, they sit in a room and they straight up go like, how do we get these literal children to develop deeply parasocial infatuations with these beacons of non-threatening masculinity? I guarantee you that has been the subject title of an executive email chain. The K-pop idol business model, which basically took the Western blueprint of plucking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed wannabe stars from the backwoods of Louisiana, or a Dateline NBC background suburb, just creating a little trail of goldfish crackers and Ritalin that would lead these young hopefuls to a warehouse in Orlando, Florida, where they would be injected with a Disney microchip and put to work learning how to do choreography and smize by a trainer who will most definitely be on a watch list in the next 15 years. That was a time-honored tradition, okay? And who created it?
And who set that system up?
That's right, USA, baby! Now, the Korean idol industry took this already very exploitative business model and they perfected it. When it comes to my critique of the idol industry, I'm not gonna put the brunt of the blame on the performers themselves, because for the most part, they're like kids who were kind of robbed of a large portion of their childhood and put in these idol-making factories. And the ones that were lucky enough to even get selected, at the end of it, were made to sign what I imagine is an insanely strict contract when they were 17. Who knows if there was a legal guardian present? And that contract was probably written in Russian cursive, so they couldn't even read it. They're not the ones creating the marketing campaigns. The emotional manipulation really becomes grating when they start tapping into the insecurities of these young girls. And boy bands have always done this, okay? Think of One Direction's "That's What Makes You Beautiful." Hey girl, I know you're insecure about the way that you look, and you're right to be, but we need you to feel special. So, plus I know you like me the most, because I've got the swoopiest hair. I didn't even write any of these lyrics. That song came out when I was a crusty little 12-year-old. I saw what they were doing then, and I see it now. What was that other song that One Direction had? I think it was called Little Things. Yeah, it was even more aggressive. It was the one that was like, you struggle to put your jeans on because you're such a fatty. Yeah. You know what? I don't like any of these lyrics from any male artist where it's pretty much like, oh, you're prettier with no makeup on. Silence! Your spells won't work on me, witch. They really want girls to listen to these lyrics and go, oh my goodness, he's so sweet. No, queen, he's trying to penetrate the fortress of your mind. Don't let that light skin in. And don't get me wrong, One Direction had many a bop, especially from Made in the AM. What a feeling. I love swaying to that song in the afternoon, like a drunk hippie about to lose custody of her kids. And there are K-pop songs I still bump. What you know about Shiny, okay? I was watching Arirang back in 2010. Oh, this was back when I was living in Ethiopia and we only had Arab satellite. What fun times. I still had an attention span back then. So I'm not saying that these groups can't make a tune. I'm just saying, this is a video talking about celebrity worship, and let's just say that K-pop fans in particular are known for being passionate. And these labels, they love it. They feed it by constantly doing fan service. And the thing is, the objective isn't even just to make sure that these groups obviously turn a profit. It's because they know that feeding into this will get them millions of dollars worth of free PR. The promo that stans will give their fave, you can't buy this level of organic, all-encompassing publicity. Plus, they'll artificially bolster singles and sales for anything from merchandise to full albums. I've witnessed K-pop stans in the comment section of music videos talking about we gotta get this to 1 billion, pretty much encouraging the mass viewing, spamming comment sections, encouraging people to, stream Luna. You know the drill. It's the encouraging of, mass streaming the same song over and over and over again. And the thing is, the music industry has always had a way of inflating numbers artificially. There's been pay for play, payola. Like, this isn't new. The difference is that these stans are doing it for free. Enthusiastically, might I add. And you check the birth dates of a lot of these stans, this is technically virtual child labor. This is such a successful tactic that now American labels are copying the business model of the Korean idols, which was already taken from the American/British boy band and girl group model. This isn't a cultural exchange. This is cultural Ouroboros. We're vomiting into each other's mouths. I mentioned this in my Disney Adults video, but there are many people who do not have a healthy outlet for their stress or frustration. So in the case of Disney Adults, they will see these like pieces of nostalgia as a way of alleviating that stress. That's why they get so emotionally attached to them. Stan culture allows for this attachment to be even more personal because they're latching themselves onto a specific person or group of people as opposed to a brand, which is quite broad. But these fandoms also appeal to lonely young people because they do function as a community. A dysfunctional one, but like a community nonetheless. All these fan-driven campaigns to get a single to reach #1 or to sell out like a specific merch line, they're framed as these like fun collective endeavors. Like, you know, come on, we gotta do this as a group. The boys need us. There is an abundance of inside jokes and memes and references. Made even better if you were an OG stan. You're not like these new stans, these posers. And in many cases, they're getting emotional support from these other stans that they might not be getting in real life. Extreme levels of celebrity obsession and worship is, in a way, capitalizing on loneliness and people who have no productive outlets. This ain't even the worst flavor of celebrity worship, because at least these idols, they're minding their business. They're not even doing anything. Like, they're fairly harmless. It's the ride or die fans of unethical people who will defend this person regardless of how they behave, because that's how much of a weird attachment they have to them. This is when it becomes even more frustrating. Cue the Chris Brown fans. What are they called? Brownies? Breezy Nation? That sounds like a hookah flavor. Enablers. That's what they're called. He's got almost, 2 decades of terrible treatment of women under his belt, which unfortunately is not unique to him, but usually when an unethical male celebrity gets people playing offense for them, they're usually not from the same demographic that man was mistreating, because black women are his main stans. It's like you want to shake these women. You want to shake them awake. Now, the step beneath that level of standum, which is already a rancid level, you get the most dangerous, rock bottom tier. And that is the sort of cultish celeb obsession of political figures. Current day Donald Trump has the most sycophantic fan base I've ever seen. And he doesn't even have any bangers. I'm not comparing like Chris Brown and Donald Trump in terms of, their impact, but at least Chris Brown had forever. Donald can't dance. And I'm gonna call his supporters stans, because John Kerry had supporters. Donald Trump has devotees. The QAnon people were writing full fanfic about this man, like knocking down the doors of traffickers. Whole time, he's a participant. I mean, for legal purposes, allegedly. This level of idolatry is the most terrifying because it's the most consequential. The Swifties ain't got a body count this high. I say this high because there's gotta be at least one. It can't be 0. Like, most stans are not complicit and actively supporting of an individual who is helping, let's just say, accelerate the removal of a certain people from a certain land to keep it PG. So if we're looking at the hierarchy, this is rock bottom. One of the weird things about putting somebody on a pedestal is that it is also very dehumanizing. It's not just degrading to the person who's like gawking, looking up at them. The person who was put on a pedestal is now no longer seen as like a fully formed, flawed human. They just exist as whatever the devotee wants them to be. You want to see an example of celebrity obsession turned fatal? Infamously, Princess Diana. Hello, sorry, I don't want extra cheese on my Whopper. I used to have a crown too. Thank you. I think that was the most C-tier impression I've ever done. Yet still, I have Hollywood knocking at my door. It's with a cease and desist. Conspiracies regarding her passing aside. The car did in part crash because they were trying to evade the paparazzi. That's how insatiable the public appetite for this woman became. Oh, you really want an example of a woman who exists almost as a piece of pop iconography at this point more than she ever did as a human. Marilyn Monroe. I don't have the time, the energy, or the insight on this woman to really expand on that, but y'all know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. That at a certain point, you don't even exist as a person. You just become whatever people want to project onto to you, whether that's bad or good. You either just become like an object of desire, or you're just framed as like this beautifully tragic wounded bird in a way that sometimes can come off as like rather patronizing. But at the end of the day's gotta end. Yeah, I gotta wrap this video up. There's an Auntie Anne's pretzel that's calling my name. And I'm aware, of course, fans exist on a spectrum, all right? I'm not trying to say everyone is an outlier. I don't know how many Swifties would be eating Taylor's leftover wedding dessert. More than you would hope. I don't hate any of these public figures, which, by the way, I also do think hating a celebrity is its own form of obsession. A more petty version, by the way. Ooh, you want to talk about like the combined infatuation and hatred of a public figure. Justin Bieber in 2010, because he got the worst of like both ends of that obsession spectrum. You could study that from a sociological standpoint. Not me. I'm not an intellectual, okay? I'm just a YouTuber, which in this day and age is actually more influential. Man, people hated Justin Bieber. My goodness. I mean, like grown adults hated this boy. All he did was Dougie in a bolt cut. I mean, he's Canadian, and you know, I still haven't forgiven him for that. They wanted this boy to die. I remember there was that one scene where he was in like CSI or something, and he got shot, like he was murked, and there were people making compilations where they were just playing that clip over and over again. I distinctly remember this. Summer of 2011. I saw this, and there were people in the comment section being like, yes, I wish this would happen in real life. This was a child, a literal child, and they were fantasizing about him getting murked. What a culture. That's all I got to say now. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with my assessment, with my hot takes? I know, I'm brave enough to say being obsessed with celebrities is kind of weird. I know. There's no one on the internet expressing my opinions. I'm that unique. Do you like this format of just rambling? Also an excuse to not have to put that many visuals in this video because it's just me doing all the heavy lifting. As always, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know every time that I upload. Let me know if you're a hardcore fan of anything or you used to be. What has it been like reflecting on that time period? Or would you justify your hardcore standum today? Let me know. As always, thank you for watching. Shout out to my patrons! If you have not seen my announcement regarding my Patreon, I will no longer be uploading videos on there, at least not for quite some time. But for select members, I will be rolling out complimentary merch. That's right, complimentary. I've made a community post about it, but if you are a channel member or you're someone who is on the top tier of my Patreon, you will be getting the merch. I will be reaching out to you once it actually comes in. It'll all be original designs. It'll be something small for now, stickers, you know what I mean? Again, with all original artwork, multiple stickers, but I do want them to actually come out properly. I hope this goes well and I can roll out even more complimentary merch that's a bit more impressive. Interesting things are coming, and you guys will be able to put this on your water bottle, your Stanley cup. I guess now people don't care if you have one of those things. I certainly don't if you're buying my merch. That's right, I'm unethical. Also, you already have it. So this is why I'm glad I'm not any more famous. I feel like I would have to be making apologies like every other day. That's why on some level I understand Azalea Banks. Shout out to my top patrons. If you'd like to donate to my Patreon, the link is in the description or on screen. I would also like to shout out my YouTube channel members. Hello, beautiful people. Thank you for all of the support. Thank you to my other lovely patrons. Your name should be scrolling on screen as I speak. Bye.